did it impact my career? No. If anything, it cost me money and time. So
Did it help point you in the direction that you've realized like your strengths in the area you want to go, or that was completely independent?
so yes and no. It definitely enhanced it. I knew the path that I wanted to go in, but college just really it grew me as a person. So it's one of those things where you just get thrown out there and it's like you got to figure it out. Like so I lived at home my first year, and then after that I was like I don't want to live at home anymore. So I moved in with my brother. So I was kind of all by myself. Um,
Mm.
so I grew a ton as a person, which eventually leads you to growing in all different aspects of life. Went through a ton of stuff, struggle, adversity, all that sort of stuff. So I'm definitely grateful. It had a huge impact on me. But as far as like the classes, I don't remember anything that the classes teach. It's more so
Yeah.
like the personal journey I went on.
Yeah, well, and that's the hardest part is so much of the requirements aren't really applicable to life. So for me, I always struggled taking classes that I knew I would have zero need for in the future. Like those were just torturous to me.
Yeah. I'll tell you the one class I wasn't looking forward to was philosophy, and it ended up being one of my favorites.
Mm, because why?
I think it just gave me like so many outside perspectives. So I was
Yeah.
like learning, I don't know, by no means am I a communist, but I was like learning communist and like Karl Marx and then like Plato and Aristotle, like all these like I don't want to call Karl Marx a smart person, but like all these smart people, just all these different perspectives. And it was just like interesting to see like people's perspectives are really just based off of like how they grow up. And it just gave me like an out of person perspective of like being able to see other people's point of views and stuff like that.
Well, and I think that's like totally applicable to what you do now, which, a lot of sales and stuff like that, because you have to understand where people are coming from in order to meet them where they're at. So I'm sure it's always interesting. I get that too, because I like to, I kind of like being around people that think like I do, but at the same time, it's cool to be prepared to be around others who maybe don't think the same way, but yet be able to have productive, good conversations.
For sure.
Yeah. So you are already an author. I have your book here.
Is this the podcast already too?
Yeah, we're just chatting.
Like we're rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's very informal. It's just a conversation. We'll edit it up however we do, which isn't a lot, but it's a conversation. It's not a formal interview or anything.
Okay, cool.
Unless you want a
You
formal
just kept
interview. Do you want me to get real serious? What?
nah, you're good. I like this.
Okay, good. Sorry. I should probably give you a heads up on that shit, huh?
I had no clue. I heard you started recording, but I didn't know that was the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. We do it kind of just dropping into a conversation, not really prepared like interview style. It's just more fun, I think, for people to have like just like a conversation as opposed to an interview.
Probably more valuable that way too.
Yeah, it's more natural. It's not so like canned and like, let me say the same thing I always say kind of thing. But so since I did bring it up, let's talk about your book, which I do have.
100%.
You came up with this when I was going to the Apex meetings, which is pretty awesome. Like for you to have a published book already at your age, like that's fucking phenomenal.
100%. And honestly, I owe it a lot to the mentors that I have in my life. So for those of you that don't know, I wrote a book. It's called Young Closer, and the subtitle is A Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Fast Forwarding Your Success. And the reason for that is those of you that don't know me, I'm a young buck. I'm a young hustler. I'm 23. I'm about to turn 24. And I've been in some incredible rooms with some incredible entrepreneurs, Angie herself included, but on top of that, hundreds of other incredible, very smart entrepreneurs and business owners. And I consider it a blessing to be in those rooms, but I also considered it selfish if I didn't take that knowledge that I learned in those rooms and gave it to everybody. So basically, I packaged it into a $7 book on Amazon with the top 10 biggest lessons that out of all the rooms I've been in, flying on private jets across the country, hanging in Cabo with Angie, with plenty of other entrepreneurs and mentors. I boiled it down to the top 10 lessons that I've learned and that I've implemented, and I put it into a book. I gave it away for $7. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Is I've just been in some incredible rooms, had some incredible mentors, and I just wanted to give that back in the form of a book. So I thought a lot of people think about writing books and they never really do, and that's something that one of my mentors is huge on is write a book, put it out there. So I did it. I had to lead by example. So
I love that. And young closer. So obviously you work for Ryan Stewman and he's known as the hardcore closer. Is that how you got your name? Because a lot of people are like, you're like his mini protege because you are you're so much like him and you guys have a lot of the same style and technique.
For sure. Yeah. So he's nicknamed the hardcore closer, and he started calling me the young closer. It's like, I
Mm.
kind of like that. So it kind of caught on.
Yeah.
Everybody in Apex started calling me young closer. So whenever it was time to write a book, I was like, I already know I want to help young entrepreneurs. So what better title is than young closer?
Ah, I love that. Yeah, it's just kind of stuck. It is what it is. So
For
what's
sure.
new? Yeah. So what's new for you? What's on the horizon? You're just you guys have the new Apex building, which is looks phenomenal. That's awesome. Just doing that kind of stuff, or you've got
Yeah,
a
so
lot of side hustle on top of that, though.
I do, yes, ma'am. So Apex, it's definitely my main focus. So that's where I'm at the Apex HQ right now. So this year has been it's been a crazy year. Basically the last couple of years we had a bunch of people with EIDL money and PPP and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of people were wanting to invest and grow their businesses.
Mhm.
And this year that stuff kind of dried up. So we saw a lot of people that were acting like they were successful and all this sort of stuff. And it's just like come to find out uh, when the tide goes out, you find out who's skinny dipping. I mean, we really found that out this year.
Mhm.
So Apex has been it's been great because this has been kind of like a restructuring year where we're able to really dive deep into what people are looking for whenever they come to our Apex events. So dialing in the speakers and the content and how they actually want to learn it. So it's been incredible that way. But yeah, side hustle. So my brother has a roofing company, and actually, I don't think it was the Cabo that we went to. It was a Cabo a couple with the Apex. We go to Cabo like once or twice a year. And back in 2021, I believe it was. So just over 2 years ago, I went to Cabo, and this was right after I had hit my first month being top producer at Apex. I was on a dopamine high, a dopamine rush, and just win after win after win. And I was like, man, I feel like I've made it, but I feel like I'm just getting to the top of one mountain only to realize there's another mountain in front of me. And what that other mountain in front of me was I realized I had to take a bus ride back to hell, which is a quote from Tim Grover's Relentless book. So
Mhm.
Michael Jordan's trainer, where basically, hey, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, they win a championship. What do they do that next Monday? They're back in the gym. They got to take that bus ride back to hell to start doing what got them to that championship in the first place. So that's what I realized was I realized I had to take that bus ride back to hell, take that trek back down that mountain in order to climb the next one, which that next one I really wanted to grow a business myself.
Mhm.
So I'm sitting here, I'm selling, coaching, business coaching, consulting, all that sort of stuff. As a 21-year-old young man, I wasn't doing the coaching. I didn't coach anybody at that point, but I sold for the coaches. I sold for the mentors. And I realized I was like, man, I really I want to do this myself so that when I'm having these sales calls, I'm not just some 21-year-old trying to get them into a coaching program, but rather 2 years down the line, I'm a 23-year-old running a multi seven-figure roofing company with my brother. I've trained a team.
Mhm.
We're crushing that. I have a real estate portfolio, so I currently have 3 properties. 2 are duplexes, so 5 units total of cash flowing, appreciating real estate, actually growing a diversified portfolio of investments. Like I'm actually doing this stuff too. So not only am I just selling this stuff, I don't want to be a sales rep forever. I want to have all these different assets: real estate, private equity, businesses, building sales teams, equity in those companies, all that sort of stuff. So that's really whenever it clicked for me was that October. So the following year, about 3 or 4 months after that, I hired my first sales rep for my brother's roofing company. So prior to that, my brother was really like a one-man show. He had another sales rep, but he didn't really produce too much. So between the two of them, they probably did like 1.5 million between the two of them. And that January, I hired that first sales rep, and he's gone on this year. He'll man, he's pretty damn close to doing $2 million in production himself.
Wow.
Uh, just Friday, we bought him a Rolex because we have this deal. Whenever you hit 1 million in revenue, we'll buy you a Rolex. That was something that Ryan did to me. We see other companies doing it. So that was like, man, we really want to implement that. We really want to have like a young hustler culture at our company. So we just bought him a Rolex on Friday, which was man, honestly, that was better than me getting my Rolex, was being able to buy it
Yeah.
from somebody else that's earned it. So he was my first hire. Since then, we've gone on to, I think we're sitting at like 13 sales reps right now. Not all of them produce. There's probably, I don't know, 80-20 rule. So 20% are like, they crush it. Probably another 40%, they turn in deals every once in a while, and then another 40%, they're just kind of getting their toes wet, kind of seeing what we have to offer. But since then, we've more than, I guess, 4x in value, 4x in revenue since I initially came. And my goal is to hit 8 figures by next year. So the roofing
Damn.
company is something that we're focused on. I love real estate, so I love buying cash flowing real estate. And then also I have a tree service company too, which I don't really run myself now. I hired my mom, and she basically runs it herself. So it's pretty hands off, but we do probably 6 figures in that, so nothing crazy, but it's cool.
Dang, dude. First of all, let me just say, I'm actually love this about Ryan, that he encourages you guys to do all this. I've seen other business owners who don't want people to have side hustles. They think you got to be all in with them or you can't be effective. But I think it's the opposite. Like with Ryan, he's like, good, be successful with that because it makes you look and be better for me. And so I love that philosophy. And also you're very good at being involved in many things. Like you don't have all your eggs in one basket. So if something happens and one of the businesses crashes, you're fine. You've got like 4 other businesses.
100%. And I think that kind of stems from what we do over here at Apex. So we help entrepreneurs and business owners, which they always have multiple businesses. They're always taught to diversify multiple streams.
Not this day, but every other day.
What's that?
Not this day, but every other day has multiple businesses. I just got my one.
And that's perfectly fine. So some of the most successful people I do, man, we know somebody that he's one of our clients. He drives a Bugatti, and he just has one thing. Like he's just stayed dialed, focusing on that. So I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I also hear like, hey, if you have a business and it's not doing 7 figures, you probably just need to focus on that business, get it to 7 figures before you start implementing other things. So to each their own. I just love being able to bounce back and forth, because I don't think I have ADHD, but I'm very fast. I want results very quick. So I want to be able to do this over here, and then they're implementing while I'm doing this over here, and they're implementing, and then I'm doing this over here. But yeah, you're right. We kind of teach entrepreneurs how to grow, how to be successful. So it does just only add to our sales rep, me being the top sales rep over here, being able to be on that phone call and be like, hey, it's $2,500 to join, and a grown man being like, man, I don't have 2,500, and it's just like, come on, man, like I'm 23, like what have you done in the last 20 years that has led to that? That's exactly what's holding you back from Apex. Let's get you in, even if we got to do a payment plan. It's not in an asshole way. It's just kind of putting things in perspective. Like, come on, guys, like let's hold you to the fire. Let's actually do this so that you're not in that position again where a $2,500 investment is like a stretch for you. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I think your approach is really nice. I mean, you kind of put people on notice, but at the same time, it's not like in a bad way. Because instantly, like when you're like, "What's 2,500?" I'm like, "Well, I got a mortgage, I got kids." My mind started defending myself. But the way you closed it up was very nice. It's like, well, let's get you there and get the value, because I know, like for myself, I loved Apex. I get so much value out of it. So. I like how you understand how to work with people and not necessarily just expect you're going to put out a price and it's yes or no, and that's the end of the conversation.
100%. I think sales really starts whenever you hear the first no, because what sales is if you think about sales, it's really just helping people, and sometimes you have to help people see things through how their mind is saying things, so that they're always justifying excuses and like, man, why won't this work? And sometimes you just gotta, man, sometimes people don't believe in themselves. Sometimes you just gotta be like, dude, you can do this. Like anything's possible. Like the sky's the limit. Here's exactly what you need to do to get there. But it all starts with you kind of believing in yourself, and then we can make things happen.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I think you probably come across, and I know we all do, it's just a lot of limiting beliefs. People just, start believing a certain way and don't think there's another way out of thinking that way. So,
Sometimes you are your own biggest enemy.
yeah,
More times than
absolutely.
not, usually you are.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've noticed is it just because it worked at one point in time doesn't mean it's forever going to work. Like you've got to be really good at sort of, and I hate this word because it got way overused during the pandemic, but pivoting. Like, you got to continue to grow, evolve, change your belief systems, change what's happening because the world is constantly changing. And if you stay stuck in that rut, which I think is what happens to a lot of people because they were very successful doing this one thing. If they don't change, then they become like the dinosaurs, like you get extinct. You got to be able to continue to like reevaluate where you're at and what's going on and how do I survive in the world the way it looks today.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to, so I'm huge on, and we are in Apex, the saying your alignment takes precedent over your assignment, which
Mm,
basically means who you do life with is more important than what you do in life. Because once you get surrounded by the right people, you have problems pop up, you already know the right people, they're going to be able to solve it.
yeah.
You meet new people, you can reach out to those people. I realize that my clients hang out with my clients. Football players hang out with football players, doctors hang out with doctors. My ideal client hangs out with my ideal client. So if I want to meet new people, I just reach out to my people and they're going to introduce me to some other really good, genuine, successful entrepreneurs too. But really getting surrounded by the right people so that you can feed off of each other.
I love that. Okay, so just switching directions, just I'm curious about this. In our entrepreneur world, how many people have fitness as a top priority? I feel like it's gotten a lot higher than it used to be, but what would you say a good percentage on that is?
Um, I think the percentage between people that know it needs to be a top priority and people that actually put it as a top priority, I think those are two different things.
Yeah.
Probably 80-90% know that it needs to be a top priority. And I would say probably 50-50. I think 50-50
Mm.
is a good number. I mean, in our community, in our network, I think that's a good number. Um, and it's a lot higher than the average folks in the world too. So I would say probably 50-50. What do you think?
I agree. And I think a lot of people are in and out. And I think a lot of people whose business doesn't necessarily have to do with fitness, they're probably maybe not as into it. And I could see how that would work. If you've got all the money, the family, the life and everything, maybe fitness falls lower on a priority list. But for me, it's definitely in that higher realm because then you're around people who are like-minded, which pushes you to be and makes you more accountable and everything like that.
I've also noticed that, man, Isaac Newton, he knew what he was doing whenever he said this. An object in motion stays in motion. So
Mm,
whenever I get into the gym early in the morning, I notice that my days are so much more productive. My mind's clear. And honestly, like if you think about it, it's more therapy
yeah.
because I don't know what it is. Like if you get angry or something like that, you're gonna ball your fist up. You want to punch something or something like that. Why not just do that, yourself while you're in the gym? Lift heavy weights, actually do tough stuff so that you feel that pain. Because somebody taught me this. They said pain releases endorphins, and like you get in a hot shower, you're releasing endorphins, like the feel good chemicals. You're in the gym, you're releasing endorphins. So it actually scientifically, don't quote me on this, but this is where I heard from someone, it actually makes you feel better by going into the gym and doing hard stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why I have CrossFit in my program because we're trying to get people to, relearn how to do life without drugs and alcohol. And exercise is a beautiful way of getting their bodies to naturally start giving them that same feel good hormones as they used to get from using. So that is 100% science. You're right on that.
Do you have cold plunges too?
I personally do. We don't have one at the center. I mean, they're only with me 2 months. Like that's a pretty steep you got to really want it to get in that cold plunge, in my opinion. I freaking hate it, but
You got
I
to
do
throw
it
them in
because it
that.
produces all those other things that you talked about.
Exactly. I started doing cold showers, and actually I did this because I didn't have a choice. The very first house I bought, it was May of 2022. And right when I bought it, we moved in, and then I go to get a shower and I turn it on and the faucet like breaks. Like it doesn't go far enough to go to the hot water. I was like, I gotta take a shower. Like I have work today. So I was like, okay, let's do this. So I hopped in and I was just freezing. Like I dried off and I ran back, cuddled up next to my girlfriend, all with comforters and blankets and stuff like that.
Shivering.
Literally shivering. Like I was so cold. I don't think I've ever been that cold, but I felt so good after that. And I was like, man, I started forcing myself to do those every single day because it
Mm.
made me feel so good.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason Andy put it in 75 hard in phase 1, 2, and 3. I believe all of them because of the benefits. And shoot, now he's taken it to the next level and is cold plunging like 8 minutes a day, which is that's a long time. That's
That
a
is
long time.
100%.
Yeah, I usually do 4, but I also live alone because I'm like, I don't want to die in there and nobody know. So I just have to be mindful of my limit. I won't call them limitations. I'm just smart about it.
Yeah, that's probably good.
Yeah, that'd be super terrible to like die in a cold plunge.
Gosh.
Although maybe it would preserve the body, but then you would have the floating. It wouldn't be pretty any way you look at it. Yeah. So, okay, cool. So, all right. What does your workout routine look like? You go to the gym. Do you CrossFit? I know Ryan CrossFits. Do you do that as well?
No, I don't CrossFit. So I primarily lift weights. I also do
Mm.
boxing too.
Oh,
So
wow.
usually usually it's lifting weights in the morning. So usually it's gonna be um probably gonna be like back and by one day, chest and try the next, and then I'm gonna do legs and then shoulders and traps, and then
Mm.
that way I can hit another arm day because I hit them early on in the week. So usually I'm going 5 6 days a week. Usually at least five. I try to go 6 days a week, and usually it's in and out within 45 minutes. So it's just
Mm.
do the work. A lot of people think you need to be in the gym for hours and hours and hours, and it's just not like that. The biggest thing is having your diet and your nutrition in because it doesn't
Yeah.
take that much to tear some muscles, but if you don't have the nutrition, that's actually what's building the muscle. So working out is tearing, it's making you tinier because it's tearing muscles, stuff like that. And if you don't eat right, then your muscle it's gonna actually get smaller. Like people don't realize that. But if you're eating right, that's what's gonna build it up. So you don't have to be tearing them down too much. You actually have to build them up a lot more. And usually that rest is what people need more so than anything.
Mm. That's an interesting perspective because yeah, I know a lot of people will come into the gym and they don't see results within a short amount of time. And even at Elevate, we do this, and it's like, well, what does it look like when you leave here? Oh, we went and celebrated with a donut and started my day with this, and it's like, well, okay, you can do all this hard work in the gym, but you will never see the results if you don't handle what's happening outside the gym first.
You have to. It's so crucial. People think it's so complicated, but lifting and reverse engineering the body that you want is really just science. Like that,
Yeah.
that's all it comes down to. Like there's purpose for fats, there's purpose for carbs, there's purpose for protein. When you do it too, that's very important too, because you like people think sugars and stuff like that is a bad thing, but like if you're eating it right after you work out, it's actually good because you need some fast dissolving sugar to actually go into your muscles as soon as possible. So after I work out, I drink a Gatorade, 12 ounce Gatorade, and then protein because you need that fast dissolving sugar, but then you also need the protein too. So it like timing of it, it's really not that difficult. People make it more difficult than it has to be a lot of times.
Yeah, I love that. So, do you ever go for PRs or you're just in there to do the work? Like you don't care about any of that. You stick with the same weight. Do you go up? How do you decide what you're going to
100%.
do?
So I used to be really good at like progressive overload and like keeping track of PRs and like
Mm.
60%, 12 reps and then 70%, stuff like that. I've lacked off of that. I probably need to get back to it because that's whenever I see the biggest gains. But I do hit PRs every once in a while. So I actually just PR'd on bench the other day for 235. And I'd never
Woo!
done 225. So I was super excited for that. Um,
Yeah.
Also there for a while in high school, I was pushing PR. So I was like, I saw the growth and stuff like that. There for a while, I didn't have spotters or anything like that. So
Mhm.
I didn't keep track of it. And that probably caused me to just plateau for probably like the past 4 years. I didn't really gain that much strength. I grew a lot of body because I was focused on the reps, but I didn't gain strength so much. So I'm gonna start focusing on strength 100%.
That'll, I'm sure, help with your boxing, right? Because you kind of like the more strength you have, the heavier hit you can deliver.
I think so. It's kind of like golf though, because it's not so much how hard you swing the
Mm.
club. It's more so about the fluid. So slow is fast, fast is smooth. So being able to like the movement in boxing and golf are really almost identical. It's more so the power comes from your legs, the ground, the twisting motion and stuff like that. So it definitely helps, but you got to get like the basics down first.
Mm. So why boxing? Why is that the other sport?
Yeah, so I got into boxing because of one of my mentors. He's in two of my chapters in my book. His name's Jose, and
Mm.
he's always been huge on like fighting and like not in a bad way. I guess kind of in a bad way because he's been to prison a couple times, but just being able to defend yourself and realizing that behind me there's a book over here called the 48 Laws of Power, and it talks about um, there's also one called the 33 Strategies of War, and it talks about how back in the day people went to war and you would have swords and stuff like that. Now it's not so much physical wars, it's more so mental and psychological. And by having that killer instinct by boxing and having somebody in the ring 3 feet away from you wanting to knock your head off, you have to go into a different zone in order to protect yourself. That killer instinct truly comes out. And in today's world, you never have that killer instinct come out. Like, yeah, you can do CrossFit, you can lift weights. Yeah, that bicep curl is really heavy, but it's like you don't have somebody trying to kill you. You don't really have like
Right.
those I don't even know chemicals and stuff like that. Adrenaline pumping through your veins and stuff like that. So putting yourself in those situations is going to be crucial. So that's initially why I got into it. And then I realized I just really like the way it makes me feel. Like I was lifting and stuff like that. And you would think lifting makes you feel better, but sometimes, your joints start hurting. You feel like an old
Mm-hmm.
man and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Like I feel like sometimes I get tennis elbow when I'm doing like a lot of overhead. I'm like, oh my God, what
yeah.
is happening?
So I went back to wanting to feel like an athlete again, because whenever I was an athlete, I always felt the best. Bodybuilder, not so much. Athlete, definitely.
Yeah.
So I love the cardio aspect of boxing. And on top of that, I just love the confidence that you just walk around. You don't need a gun. You don't need you just know you'll always be able to protect you and your loved ones around you. So I
Yeah.
just love all the benefits of it.
I love that. Would you box Logan Paul?
For the type of money that they're boxing for, 100%. I would sit there. I would box him with my hands taped behind my back for that type of money.
You think you could go a few rounds with him? He's gotten
Uh,
big.
yeah, I don't know because I feel like his cardio is so much better than me.
Yeah.
Do I think I could go a couple rounds with him? 100% though.
Nice. Did you, so when he came and spoke at Apex, were you able to meet with him and
I,
do all
I
that?
didn't. No, I was so busy because I think that was like the last day, and that's
Mhm.
whenever sales are like everybody's like, man, I see what y'all are about. I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
So I was so busy with that. I didn't even hear him speak. Actually, I was so busy at the Apex booth.
Dang. Well, I mean, I guess work comes first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now we've talked about, so you've got your physical aspect of your day. You obviously have your work, you have all your side hustles. Where's spirituality for you?
So I am a very spiritual person. I don't consider myself so much religious though. So I'm not in
Mhm.
church every single Sunday, but I pray to God multiple times a day. And the reason for that is because like religion's man-made, and I feel like
Yep.
there's I don't know, we can get deep right now, but there's all these different religions. A lot of them teach similar things, but there's like different aspects that they added on or something like that. And I just didn't really like that aspect of like thinking, oh, a man created this, a man told me I had to do this. Like religion is supposed to be your relationship with God, and to have other men that you don't know who they are, they created it years ago, hundreds, thousands of years ago. They're saying this is right, this is right, this is wrong. I just think everybody should have their own relationship with God, because I don't think there's any disputing that there's a creator out there. Like
Mhm.
this, we didn't get here from a bunch of rocks colliding in Earth and then um, and then evolve from monkeys. Like that's not really like, where did the monkeys come from? Like did we really come from like one cell? I forget what it's called, eukaryotic or something like that. Prokaryotic cells. Like I just don't believe that to be happening. I believe in a creator. I believe in God. Now what that is, whether it's this religion, I don't know. I do believe in Jesus Christ, and I have my own relationship with them, but it's not so much men telling me what I have to do and me telling them I'm a bad person if I'm not in church every single Sunday. And I'll go every once in a while, but it's just like um, I believe more so than anything, you just have to be a good person. And I feel like sometimes I'll go to church and there aren't good people around me. Sometimes there are, don't get me wrong, but it's just like it's a very hypocritical situation, where some people are really good people, some people aren't. Some of the best people I met aren't spiritual. They don't believe in something bigger than them. So it's just like I
Really?
yeah, 100%.
Interesting. I haven't met a lot of those people. I mean, I've met a shit ton of people that just don't go to organized church or religion and believe, in lots of different higher powers. But I very few people I've ever met in my life that didn't believe there was something bigger than us.
Man, I feel like a lot of the people that don't believe in something bigger than us, for some man, it's gonna sound weird saying this, but they're usually the smartest people that I know.
Mm,
And that's not to say that they're right or they're wrong, because if they're smart, you would think that they're right. Um, but they're just always thinking. And when you're
yeah.
thinking, there's a lot of questionable stuff that happens.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense that God would put us on this plane. Like, a lot of the stuff doesn't make sense. Now I have faith, so I believe in it, and I choose to look over those things, and I believe that He had a purpose for all of it. But I've noticed that some of the smartest people that I know don't necessarily, they try to poke holes in it. Perfect example is like think physicists and like Neil
Yeah.
deGrasse Tyson and stuff like that. Like I don't know his religious, his spiritual perspectives, but I know a lot of scientists are always trying to like justify things with science. And I feel like science is just a way to prove what God has done.
Yeah, I 100% believe. I mean, I'm an overthinker, so I could easily go in that. I'm not saying I'm like the smartest person, but I overanalyze and think everything. But I kind of enjoy, and I have to remind myself to just sort of let go and trust and quit trying to figure everything out. And just, either feel it or go with it, or just, trust that there's a bigger purpose or someone's looking out for me. Like that's been my big thing this year, is just kind of surrendering and knowing that God, universe, whoever's out there has my back, and it's okay. And I'm going to be okay.
I think that's a gray line though, because sometimes people do too much of it, which I know you probably do this really good. You do the work and all that sort of stuff, but
Mm.
some people that they'll sit there. Somebody was telling me the story. They were like, this dude's on an island and he's praying to God to come save him from an island. And then all of a sudden a helicopter comes. They're like, get in, get in. And he's like, no, God's got me. God's got me. So the helicopter flies off, and then a boat comes and they're like, come on, get in, get in. We're saving you. And they're like, no, God's got me. And then he ends up dying and he goes to heaven and he's like, God, why didn't you save me? He's like, what do you mean? I sent a helicopter. I sent a boat to you. So I feel like that's one of those things where God wants you to be courageous. But if God wants you to be courageous, what is He going to give you? Is He going
Yeah.
to give you courage, or is He going to give you opportunities to be courageous? Is He going to give terrible situations, stuff that you have to be brave that would scare you, for you to be brave and you to be courageous? So I definitely think it's a fine line. It's one of those things where like you got to trust, but you also have to do your part too, because God's not going to do it for you.
That is it. That is just such great words of wisdom, because I agree with you. You've got to be willing to receive, and I think a lot of people aren't in that either. So, they're praying for help, but then they're not wanting to receive. So you've got to be in that place of understanding and seeing the opportunities and the people and lifelines and things trying to help you, which is awesome. You're like one of those people. I know you've reached out to me on numerous occasions, and always trying to help and always trying to do, and I really appreciate that for sure.
I feel like you get more whenever you give. It's honestly like farmer talk. You reap what you sow. Like if you don't put seeds in the ground, nothing's gonna grow from there. And I've always noticed that the people that give the most, the people that are always helping, stuff like that, specifically in Apex, they're always getting the most. It's the people that expect nothing in return. They're doing podcasts and interviews and trainings, webinars, all that sort of stuff, just giving, commenting on people's stuff. They're always winning at so much higher of a level. So why not emulate that? Why not make this world a better place, help more people? Because I know it's going to come back to me regardless, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm good regardless. Like I'm focused on myself. I'm good there. I just want to help more people because other people help me so much too.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about the chemical things, and when you help someone or you even witness like a kind act, that's where we get the oxytocin that makes us feel good, when we do that. And so I always wonder, why do more people, like for me, I'm very blessed because I work where we directly help people. So I'm kind of getting that shit all the time. It's why, I do what I do and survive through what we survive. So it's always curious to me why more people don't naturally want to help or be of assistance, because it actually makes you feel good as a person to be able to be that person.
It does. So many people chase money and they think money's going to actually make them feel good, and they get to the end of it and they realize, man, I didn't need the money. I just needed to help these people, because it's usually that impact and that fulfillment that people are lacking the most, more so than anything.
Yeah.
So 100%.
Yeah. Are you going to have a mullet forever?
No, Here's the thing. I think I'm gonna go bald. So my dad's bald.
Huh.
I think it's in my genes that eventually I'll go bald. I've already noticed some thinning and stuff like that. So I'm just enjoying it as much as I can until the very end, and then I'll probably go bald. I may get some hair transplants or something like that. That's real popular in Apex, but I don't know. I just like doing different things with my hair. I used to just have like a normal, I don't know, like white person haircut. Like it was just like shaved on the sides, fade on the sides, and then hair on the top. And then one day I didn't really feel like going to get a haircut. So I just kind of let it grow for a couple of weeks. And I was like, I kind of like it back here. Why don't you just cut this side? So it just kind of grew on me. I don't know. I like it. I think it's different. So
I think it's great. I mean, obviously, I like having different hair. Why not? It becomes, it can become part of your branding too. Then you can't like actually leave it because people expect that from you.
there's somebody out there. He calls himself the mullet marketer or something like that. He's a young hustler too. I gotta meet him. But he calls himself the mullet marketer, and he actually has a ton of great content too. So 100%. That's a great strategy.
It is. It's got to be part of the branding. And then, it is what it is forever. I don't think I'll ever go away from purple hair. So, but I kind of like it. So it's fine. So what's new? What's new on the horizon? You got anything new, or just keep going all in on everything you're doing? I mean, do you have any free time? Do you get free time? I feel like you're really busy.
I am super busy, but I try to force myself to have free time. And the reason for that is because I
Mm.
notice I operate at my highest level when I do have that free time. It's like whenever you're going down, they always say, hey, if you're in an airplane and you're going down on a crash, put your mask on first, and then you can help other people because
Yeah.
you don't put yours on, you're going to pass out. You can't help anybody next to you. And there for a while, I really struggled with that for myself because I'm very ambitious, very hardworking, but sometimes that's not good if you don't balance it. And a lot of people talk about balance, but I realize for me, everybody's balance is going to be different. You just have to figure out what that balance is for you. So I used to be very, very, very bad at it, work 7 days a week, just kind of like never turn my phone off, never turn my mind off.
Hmm.
But I've gotten a lot better. So every night there will be a time where I'll just set my phone down and I'm like, hey, people are wanting me to make sales. I have to do this, but it's family time. It's time to, let my mind rest. Weekends, I've been trying to do that on the weekends too. Obviously, there's always projects going on. There's roofs going on. There's tree jobs going on. There's, Apex things that have to be dealt with, which I love working. So I'm okay with that. But I tried the majority of my weekends. I try to take that time off too, just because I work so hard during the week that I feel comfortable taking those weekends off. And I realize that by doing so, I'm actually helping myself way more during the week by taking that weekend off because my mind's refreshing. I'm not burning out because burnout's real. It
Oh
is.
yeah.
If you're not doing so, you could be doing something you love and find a way to hate it because you don't have a little bit of time off. Like I love sales. I love helping people. I love investments. I love building businesses, sales teams, pouring into people, leadership. Well, man, if I don't get to take a time off, like every single night, like eat dinner in peace, I have to be on my phone, stuff like that. You're eventually going to start hating it. I'm not saying everybody will, but I realized I started resenting myself for that. So everybody's balance is going to be different. But time off, yes, I have time off, not much, but I don't need much because I really do love what I'm doing. But just having a little reset, maybe every single night, a couple hours before I go to bed. Um, Maybe just going to the gym, leaving my phone at home or something like that.
Mhm.
The weekend, maybe just, hey, this Saturday, I'm not picking my phone up. I'll leave my phone here. We're gonna go watch some college football. I was talking to you about this before I knew this was actually the podcast. I thought we were just chit chatting. I've been wanting more of hobbies. So I got into golf. I love golf.
Mm.
I like college football. So just doing more stuff that I really like. And I don't need much. Like I said, like 2 or 3 hours, I probably want to get back to. I'll probably come home, do some investments and stuff like that. But just finding that balance for you, I think that's important.
I agree. I mean, I'm a huge fan of like work hard, play hard, and having things to look forward to and things like that. It makes, and not like you love what you do, just like I love what I do. So it doesn't always feel like work necessarily, but it is work. And I think, if we're going to work that hard, we should also have a lot of fun because that's why we're here. It's not just work until you retire and now like enjoy life. It's like, how about enjoy life all along? And then maybe you don't retire because why? You're able to do both and you get the feel good from both things.
That's my perspective. I always noticed people would retire and they usually pass away the next couple of years. And I
Yeah.
realized that it's because they didn't have a purpose. They would get up every single morning and it's almost like their days didn't even mean anything. Like it sounds great, you know, having your toes in a beach or something like that and retiring on the beach. But man, have you ever, if you've ever been to the beach, at least for me, maybe that's just not my place. But after a couple of days, man, I want to go home. Like
Yeah.
I can't be at the beach for too long. So that's kind of my perspective is I want to do what I love and retire from the things that I don't like doing and just do the things that I love doing. So maybe it's more investments and building teams and bigger picture stuff versus the actual day-to-day stuff. But I never want to retire. I just want to continue doing what I want in the capacity that I want, really.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I mean, I just love it and I want to just keep doing it. And I don't know why would I leave what I love, especially if you have a really awesome purpose, which, you know, for a lot of people, maybe that is, well, actually I do see it's why they leave their jobs because they have a job, but it's not necessarily their purpose. So it's a means for survival, but they don't love it and they're not passionate about it and they have no purpose with it. So, I mean, for myself, I can't even imagine how that would be where, you know, you have this thing that helps you survive, but you don't love it. And now you got to go look elsewhere to find the thing that you love. It's always seemed strange to me, but I mean, it's the majority of the world. So
I've seen a quote on that. It talks about, man, you risk your health, you risk your mental, you know, ability and stuff like that to go to a job, to get money, to pay for liabilities that you're required to risk your health and life in order to have a job. It's like a cycle.
yeah.
That's why that's really what I talk about in Young Closer though is like having an end goal. Like, what are we doing this for? Are you going to work
Mhm.
a job making $60,000 a year, live off of $60,000 a year and just move along through life and just kind of like do life because you don't really have a choice. You have to do it. Or can we take some risk early on? Can we work extremely hard? Can we get surrounded by the right people and just go all in on it, man? Risk a couple of years where we're just like drained. Like I talked about it, you know, almost facing burnout, just working all the time so that you can have more discretionary income. But instead of spending that discretionary income, investing it so that, let's say this. So if you make 100K, it's a great income. But if you spend 100K, you don't have anything left over. So next year, you're going to have to make 100K to make up for it. But if you increase that 100K to 200K, and maybe you decrease your spending a little to 75K, now you have $125,000, obviously excluding taxes, to invest. If you invest that money at a 10% return, which is pretty common, you can get a 10% in basically any investment that you do. Not financial advice, just saying that now you have $10,000 next year that's coming in on autopilot because your money's working for you. You do that a couple years in a row. Now year two, that first $10,000 is probably going to be 11, 12,000 because of compound interest. But now you're doing it again. So now you add another 10,000. You do that a couple years, 5, 10 years, which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot of time. Now you're basically living off of your investments fully. And now all of your active income, you're able to invest that. So you're just able to fast forward it. The way I view this is like you're driving in a truck and you have a mattress tied to the back of your truck. Now, if you've ever done this, I've traveled with a lot of mattresses. If a little bit of air gets underneath that mattress is coming off. But that's the thing is you just need to get a little bit of air underneath it so it lifts a little, lifts a little, lifts a little, and then it's coming off. That's how I view investments, money, all that sort of stuff. Um,
Mhm.
that's just how my mind works, I guess.
No, it's super smart and I get it. But here's my question. And I think we saw like an overabundance in the last few years due to, like we talked about in the beginning with the PPP money and all that. How do you know where to invest that's going to be a solid, guaranteed investment? Because it feels like, you know, like with crypto and Dogecoin and just all this shit that just almost seemed too good to be true because a lot of it was. How do you know where to invest if that's something you want to get into?
So you mentioned guarantee. I don't ever use the word guarantee in investments. I'm surrounded by a lot of smart people, a lot of successful people. They make a ton of investments, and they say you're going to have losers. That's why you have diversified portfolios, is because you want different levels of risk. Perfect example is if you want guaranteed, find a cash value life insurance, whole life insurance, it's like infinite banking type stuff, and they don't even consider that an investment. But that's as close to a guarantee as you can have because those companies, they're some of the most financially healthy companies in the entire world. That's why they own all these stadiums and stuff like that, because they make so much money and they sit on so much cash reserves. If you want guarantee, I would go that route. But in the world of investments, the word is not guarantee. The word is calculated risk. Because whenever you buy a house, is there an opportunity that a possibility that that house is going to go down in value? 100%. It's not going to go up over, every single year for the rest of your life. But if you look at things, on average, it goes up 5% every single year. Now, you may have one year where it goes down 5%, but then you're going to have another year where it goes up 20% to make up for it. If you look at it, the last 10 years has been like on average 10%. So my best advice as far as investments goes is get surrounded by extremely smart people. And a lot of times people act super smart and they're selling the investments. Look for the people that have no vested interest in whether you actually do that investment or not. Get surrounded by extremely smart people and learn what they do. So for me, how I do it is I break it down based off of low risk, medium risk, and high risk. I have a lot more medium and high risk because I'm so young. I can take the loss on something, but also it excites me thinking, man, what if this high risk pays off and I'm so young? If you're older, you probably want to transfer a lot to lower risk just because, hey, you're going to be retiring in the next 5 to 10 years. You want something that's going to grow, outpace inflation maybe, but you're not risking losing your entire retirement because you probably couldn't get it back at that point now that you're older and stuff like that. So have a diversified portfolio and just look for things that make sense to you. So for me, real estate makes a lot of sense. So my biggest investments are, yes, I have some crypto, but that's high risk. It's been doing great this year. My Bitcoin is up, I want to say like 40% or something like that.
Wow.
But there's also been years where a couple of years ago, I think it hit like 40, 60,000, something like that. And then it went all the way down to like 16, 17,000. So imagine if you bought a Bitcoin at 60K and it went down a third, a fourth of the value. So be looking at that stuff and just make sure that your exposed risk is calculated, because the goal is to make as much calculated risk as possible and not gamble. So if you want to gamble, Vegas, put some on, red, black, stuff like that. Make a calculated risk. So for me, calculated risk, buy your first house. Over the history, last 50 years, it's gone up 5% every single year. You probably only need 5% to buy that house because it's primary residence. So think about this. If you buy it for 5% and it goes up 5%, that's 100% ROI on your money. Not only that, because it's a mortgage, you're not going to sell this property. You're going to keep it forever. If anything, you're going to do a cash out refinance. And whenever you do that, you don't pay any taxes because it's debt still. So say you buy a house for $100,000 house for 5%. Next year it's 105. Next year it's going to be, I don't know, let's just say 110. Let's just say it goes up 5% every single year. 110, then 115, 120. 5 years, it's 125. You paid down your mortgage probably down to, 89-ish. So now you have 36, am I doing my math right? $36,000 in profit there, basically in the form of equity, all based off of a $5,000 investment. So I don't know, look, real estate makes a lot of sense to me, but I would just do your own research and get surrounded by people that are doing this sort of stuff.
Do you think it's smart? Because I know for myself, it's like, I don't know when to cash out. Like I just write it up, down, whatever, because I'm afraid, if I cash out, then it's going to like take off or yeah. So I really struggle with that. So for your real estate investments, you're just going to hang on to them for forever till it makes sense to not?
So,
because it feels like that's the best move with real estate.
So yeah, I would say 99% yes to that answer. But the one thing you can take into account is maybe you buy in a market that you're in right now and it ends up something changes. Like I'm buying in Texas, really, between Houston and Austin, and then also in Dallas. So it's in Brenham and then Dallas. If something happens with Brenham and those houses are going down or something like that, maybe it makes sense to sell that portfolio down there and put it somewhere else. So you want to think about the velocity of money. So if you have houses in these houses or money in these houses and they're doing good, I think long-term rentals is the best strategy you can have in real estate. Other than that, it's probably going to be a job. Like if you're fixing, flipping and stuff like that, takes your time, takes your effort, stuff like that. I like being able to buy a house and that house is going up in value. Rents are going up 4% every single year. They're paying down my equity, down payment, my mortgage every single year. And I know the ROI that I'm getting on that. Whereas like fix and flips and stuff like that, it's more so of an active job. But to answer your question, yes, buy and hold all the way until it doesn't make sense to hold those properties because the return on investment can be better utilized somewhere else. Perfect example is if I'm in real estate right now and these things are crushing it, 20% cash on cash returns, I'm going to keep doing that until I have this deal over here, maybe my business, where if I inject, some X amount of dollars into my business, we're going to be able to grow this amount and, outpace that, all that sort of stuff. So it's going to be a case by case situation, but I would say 100% buy and hold is long story short, yes, buy and hold is going to be my strategy. But also this goes back to calculated risk because you're not going to know when to hop off of something if you don't know where it's going. So perfect example, Dogecoin, people were just like, okay, I bought it 0.000001. I don't know if it gets to 10 cents or half a penny or something. I don't know if that's a lot of money. Like, I don't know market caps. I don't know how that works. So calculated risk, not just buying a dog coin because people say you should buy a dog coin. I know a lot of people that made hundreds of thousands of dollars off a coin called MILF coin. Like, do you really think that's a viable investment? Probably not. Does that mean that you could probably ride a wave while Logan Paul and Jake Paul endorse it and it's actually going up in value? I don't know. To each their own. I didn't, but I know a lot of people that made. I know somebody that bought a Lamborghini based off of one coin. They put $10,000 in it, went to like 200,000. To each their own, but that's where calculated risk comes in. Real estate, I know it's a calculated risk because is there some risk that house can go down? Yes, but is it calculated and is it hedged? Because I'm pretty sure if I hold this and I have the cash reserves for if anything goes wrong to pay for it, because I know that the only time you're losing in real estate is if you run out of time or money. So if I have time and I have money, I'm not forced to sell within the next 2 years whenever interest rates are all over the place. That's a calculated risk. That's a risk I'm willing to take.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is, do the interest rates scare you at all? Because it seems like we're definitely hitting like that. It's just going to climb for a while. We saw this in 2007, but I just, is that a thought of yours?
So I don't think scaring is the right word. Is it alarming? Is it something I'm paying attention to? 100%. But are there still good deals out there? And is there a lot of people scared not investing? So you're able to scoop those good deals up. Whereas, 2 years ago, my personal primary residence, it's probably worth 400K. I had to pay 435 for it because I knew people were going to put offers in and stuff like that. So it's a lot easier to get into those deals. I'm talking to one there, and there's so many different creative ways to do it. I was talking to somebody right now where they're open to assuming the loan. So they would sell me the assumable loan, which is locked in at a 4.5% interest rate, instead of me having to buy this house at an 8% interest rate where it wouldn't make sense. I wouldn't be able to offer the price that they're wanting. But if it's on my terms where I'm working on a payment plan to pay back the equity, whereas they give me the assumable loan, we're able to talk down, all these different rates. There's always ways to do it. So I wouldn't let interest rates scare you. I would just say, hey, if this is going to be the environment that we're playing in, let me learn it. Let me become an expert in it, learn as much as possible so that I can actually take advantage whenever other people are scared. Just like Warren Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful, be fearful when others are greedy.
Those are really good words of advice. So what would be your best advice that you would give to somebody your age? Because I think a lot of people your age are still just trying to figure out what the hell they want to do in life or what's going on. And obviously it's a culture that is catering to less and not more. Like, what would you say to somebody your age who's just trying to figure shit out?
I would say if you're truly committed to succeeding or accomplishing a goal, then you'll figure it out. Because winners win. If you want to win, there's so many books out there, YouTube videos for free. You don't even have to join masterminds or anything like that. I'd highly recommend it whenever you get to that point where you can invest a couple $1,000s, get surrounded by the right people. But there's so many free content out there. So if really it comes down to having that true conversation with somebody, whether they actually want it. Because a lot of people say they want something, then they won't do anything. Their actions don't back it up. Are they willing to go through hell and become the person they need to be in order to get the result? If yes, they're going to do it. I guarantee it. Nobody that's been meant to succeed, like God wanted them to succeed, has not succeeded. If they're meant to succeed, they're going to succeed. They're going to find a way to make it happen. And winning is it's dirty. No, one of my mentors, Brandon Brittingham, he's a part of Apex.
Mhm.
He says nobody wins a championship with clean jersey. Like your jersey's going to get dirty. Think about it, like football, all that sort of stuff. You're going to have a dirty jersey afterwards. It's going to have blood, sweat, tears, all that sort of stuff.
Grass
So if you
stains,
really
yeah.
want it, you're going to find a way to make it happen. But the easiest way to fast forward your success, pick up young closer and learn from the right people. Get surrounded by the right people, because there's other people that have done it before you. There's nothing stopping you from doing it as well. They just know something that you don't know. And usually it's the stuff that you don't know that's holding you back the most. And the only way to solve that is by getting surrounded by the right people. So you start picking up on that stuff.
Oh, I love that. So do you find, and I'm trying not to be like real, like old here, but I feel like the youngerish generation, like your generation, maybe not as like motivated, more, concerned with the balance. And I just want, a regular job. And I don't really, I'm okay with this being this. Do you see that a lot with people your age?
What's that?
Where people aren't as motivated to really kick ass and not have necessarily a balance in life, like to do the extra work to get ahead. They just sort of expect I'm just like a super good person, so all this should just come to me with minimal effort.
Man, what's crazy? I feel like that's been a trend that has been since the dark ages, basically. Like a generation's always going to talk trash on the next generation, always going to talk trash on the next generation. Like, if you think about it, every single generation has done that. Like, think about it. Your parents probably talk shit on your parents. Your parents talk shit on y'all talk shit on your kids. So do I think that's a trend? I don't, in all honesty. Are there lazy people my ages? Yes, but I also know grown people that have been, alive for 40, 50 years that haven't done shit with their life.
True.
So do I think there's just going to be lazy? Do I think there's a 80-20% rule? And do I think there's an 80-20 of that 80-20 of that 20%? 100%. There's going to be people that outperform other people. There's going to be lazy average people. The thing about average is average because there's just as many people doing more as there is less. So if you're an average person, you're literally right there in the middle. There's just as many people doing less than you as people doing more than you. So do I think it's like a new trend? Like, do I think people are onto something when they say, oh, like Gen X or millennials are lazy? No, I know a lot of extremely successful young people. I just think it's always one of those things where the previous generation is always going to talk trash on the next generation, which it doesn't even make sense to me, because if you think about it, they're the ones that raised that generation. So it's kind of throwing shade at themselves. Like, I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna stop that. What is it? Trend. I'm not gonna talk trash on the next generation. I'm gonna look for the winners in that generation and pour into them and help them become better leaders.
Yeah, well, like I kind of look at it like a pendulum thing, right? Like our kids saw all the shit that they perceived as wrong. Like, you work too much, you don't enjoy life. Like, I'm gonna have like a quality life, and so then the pendulum swings this way, where it's like more focus on quality and enjoying all the good things, and not realizing that the hard work was to do that. So I think there's just like a weird pendulum thing where people only see like the extremes of either, and so think that they need the opposite. I know I was like opposite with how my parents were, like you said.
It does. It goes in different cycles. Everything's cycle. If you look at it, everything's cyclical. There's this thing out there that says strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men. It literally is. If you watch, perfect example, my dad, he grew up extremely tough. Like, I don't want to get into too many personal details, but like his dad beat him type stuff. Like, it was a tough childhood. So what did he do for us? He worked his tail end off to give us the best life possible. Now, what usually happens is, now, if he worked his tail end off, gave us a good life, you would expect us to be, spoiled and stuff like that. But I kind of saw that perspective. So I was like, man, I don't want that life. I also saw both sides, because we had great years and we had bad years. But if all I saw was good years, I would think, man, life's easy. My dad didn't work for that. It just kind of happened to him. And then I would go out there and I would be just like a spoiled trust fund baby, like you blow it all, that type of stuff. So everything is cyclical, 100%.
Yep. I 100% agree. Okay. Final piece of like advice or words, or maybe one of your chapters. Like, what is your favorite piece of thing to share with people? I know that's a lot. It's a lot to draw from.
That is a lot. I think the biggest thing I can say is get surrounded by the right people, because
Hmm.
I've experienced a relative amount of success. Everything's relative. Like there's people that completely shit on me that are half my age probably. Um, Everything's relative. Yes, I've experienced some sort of success, but I owe it all to the people that I've been surrounded by. Like I don't take credit for it. Like yes, I'm stupid enough to just like do the work and just work my tail end off and actually, implement this sort of stuff. But everything that I've accomplished has been because of the people that I've been surrounded by, the people that I've learned from, the people that I soak knowledge up into. So if there's one piece of advice I can give anybody, specifically younger people, but man, going off your podcast, anybody that's struggling with addiction or anything like that, focus on who you're surrounding yourself with, because if you're hanging around, it's like I said, doctors hang out with doctors, football players hang out with football players, successful people hang out with successful people, and non-successful people hang out with non-successful people. So if you want to be successful, if you want to be a good father, if you want to be a real estate investor, hang out with those people, because that's who you're eventually going to become. It's crazy how it rubs off on them, but the opposite's true too. If you're on the right path, perfect example is I was with Apex while I was a part of college. I was in a fraternity. I could be doing the right things at work, but if I'm going home to a frat house and they're partying and stuff like that, I have to get out of that situation. I can't stay there forever, because it's always going to bring you down. It never brings you up. It's not me being surrounded by them doing lower things. They come to my level. It's always going to be me go down to them. It's always going to fall down the hill. So if there's one piece of advice that I could say everything, summarize everything up into, is get surrounded by the right people, because you're going to become those people.
Yeah, perfect. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's why I joined Apex and have had so much success and just good times being surrounded with the right tribe. So I 100% agree.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I know you have a busy day ahead of you. I appreciate you taking your time and being on my podcast today.
Awesome, Angie. Appreciate you.
All right. Let's talk soon.
All right.